Mexico City is the biggest city in the world. Steadily, it is expanding up the slopes of the outlying hills. Sooner or later, it will climb Popocatépetl. The lagoon of Xochimilco will be spared, though. It is all that remains of the great lake in which the one-time Aztec capital was situated. Now the Angel of Independence is at the heart of a city of over 20 million. Mexico City is a modern jungle of stone and glass, the palaces of industry, the exhaust fumes of motor cars. But it's also a city of culture, of the mariachi, of pyramids, even if little remains of them, and of churches and peaceful colonial courtyards. The country has suffered civil wars and revolutions, and before them, the struggle between the Aztecs and the Spaniards, between Montezuma and Cortes. The city was destroyed time and again, but it was always reborn with new energies that nurtured and maintained the great legacy. A magnificent place, wrote Bernard Diaz del Castillo when the Spanish arrived in 1519. Never again will a city such as this be conquered. And then the Spanish razed the city to the ground. All that now remains of the Great Pyramids is a few dragons' heads and fragments of walls. A number of pyramids were left standing outside the city, among them those at Tenayuca. Sprawling Mexico City has now spread to engulf them. What survives of the ancient capital's splendour can still be seen in the museum, such as the Aztec calendar. It was both highly complex and extremely exact, and was used to determine dates for sacrifices made by the god king, to ensure that the sun would rise once again, and to assure the continued supremacy of the Aztecs among the peoples of Central America. The Great Pyramid with its two main temples dominated the city. Opposite stood the temple of the feathered serpent god, Quetzalcoatl, the best-loved god of the Aztecs, and one to whom no human sacrifice was required. Legend has it that Cortes, the great conquistador, was thought by the Aztecs to be Quetzalcoatl. But Cortes was not the first Spaniard to set foot on that coast, and the Aztecs were already well aware that the Spanish palm itched for gold. Montezuma tried long and hard to rid his kingdom of Cortes, but in the end the Spanish took the Aztec ruler prisoner. The Spanish conquered the Nahua and Mayan peoples of Mexico and showed them the favour of an introduction to Christianity. Today's Mexico City is a rich blend that has grown from roots both Aztec and Spanish. Among its many attractions are fine Art Nouveau buildings. The Gran Hotel Ciudad de Mexico remains breathtakingly splendid. The Palace of Fine Art, and the main post office, built at the turn of the century. Buildings that are eloquent of independent Mexico's self-confidence. The Spanish always justified their colonial exploitation of Mexico by describing it as a religious mission. The power of the Catholic Church was immense. But by the mid-19th century, that once almost unlimited influence was dwindling. After the Civil War of 1911 to 1917, the rights of the clergy were curtailed even more drastically. The war had been fought for social justice and a fair division of the land. Mexico has a revolutionary tradition, and at any moment a demonstration is likely to be in progress in the capital. The slogans still often include Tierra y Libertad, land and liberty, the watchword of Emiliano Zapata. In 1910, Zapata took up the revolutionary cause, and his struggle for land reform made him a hero of the peasants. It was nonetheless in vain. Josefa Ortiz de Dominguez played her part in the cause of independence. Now her statue watches over the Plaza Santo Domingo, popularly known as Scribes Square. The name reflects a centuries-old tradition. To this day, illiterate people can hire scribes here to write their letters for them. A poor Indian peasant by the name of Juan Diego was one such illiterate. In 1543, the Virgin Mary appeared to him. She became the patron saint of Mexico, but at the festival of St. Mary of Guadalupe, one sees that Aztec traditions survived in the grafted Christianity. The basilica may now be closed, but before its doors the Indians still perform their ancient dances. Here the majestic palace of Montezuma once stood. The Spanish left it in ruins. In 1692, the Palace of the Nation was built on the site. Chapultepec, the hill of the locusts, is the green lung of Mexico City. Too small, though, to counter the smog in the city with the world's worst air. It was here that the first settlement was made by the Mexica, as the Aztec branch of the Nahua also called themselves. In 1864, the Austrian Archduke Maximilian was made Emperor of Mexico by the French and built his palace here. He was a liberal ruler of astounding naivety, and when he accepted the throne he had no idea of the rage that dwelt in the Mexicans. Independent of Spain, with civil war and constant changes of government behind them, they were in no mood to tolerate a French occupation. The troops of Napoleon III were driven out and the hapless Maximilian executed. With foreign rule finally at an end, the Mexicans turned to their own history for their heroes, such as Cuauhtémoc, Montezuma's successor, who fought the Spaniards to the death. Very little remains of Tenochtitlan, the ancient city on this site. But whenever the ground yields its secrets, as when the Underground Railway was built, they're carefully preserved. No one is surprised to find the ruins of an Aztec temple in the middle of a metro station. History is alive in Mexico. The capital is redolent of the past and all its sadness. The music of the mariachi sounds a note of ancient grief. As in North America, time has revised the old European perspective and reversed the view taught by Hollywood westerns. Now the indigenous peoples are the good guys and the conquering whites the bad. Not, of course, that the Indians were only good or the conquistadors only bad. And now Mexico City has grown into more than the city of Montezuma or Cortez. It has become the largest city in the world.